Welcome to the Hero Network.
Hola everybody, it is I, your Lord and Savior Nero, and welcome to another video corresponding to that of the Metal Gear universe. So basically, a little bit ago, a supposed leak occurred regarding the entirety of the Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain story. Insofar, many people believe that it is indeed false. Even Konami themselves have put out a statement saying that indeed the supposed story that got leaked is indeed false, and you should just not even really pay attention to it. There is a few things I want to bring up beforehand. First, as often as stories corresponding to I have a friend, etc., that do tend to be false, there are, of course, very rare instances where, you know, they happen to be true. Offhand, I can't actually name any right now, but do keep in mind that, you know, shit like that does indeed happen. The other thing that needs to be stated is, well, to put it real simply, just because a company says that a leak is false doesn't necessarily mean that that is the case. Again, I can't actually name what game it is, because this was long enough ago that I can't even remember the name of the game. But it wasn't really a story-driven game, but basically how the story went was somewhere like a year prior to the game's release, a leak occurred for the game's script. Of course, the script means the entire story, etc. The company did put out a message stating that it was false, you know, don't pay attention to it, it's just bullshit. But as it turned out, that wasn't the case. When the game got released, it was pretty much one by one with the script that... You are really pissing me off when with the script that came out with it. That came out about a year prior. So, especially... And this wasn't even a story-driven game, so when you look at something like Metal Gear, or Metal Gear Solid, which is incredibly story-driven, would you really imagine Konami saying, "Oh yeah, that the whole story that got leaked online, yeah, that's the real story. Just please don't read it"? They're not gonna say that. But either way, I actually have no opinions on this insofar because I haven't even read it. I got it up right now. I will be reading it all to you. So I do have to say, on the off chance that this is indeed real, if you wish to avoid spoilers for Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain, then I would highly recommend that you stop watching the video now. Maybe I will annotate a time frame of which I do post some thoughts, you know, like after I'm done. But chances are I'm just gonna read through and, you know, that's it. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we begin, let's get the obvious stuff out of the way first. The story outlined below probably isn't the real deal, and let's say more of a joke that was sent to me. However, if this is real and the content below turns out to be true, then say goodbye to any mystery about the questions that fans have theorized about. Ask yourself this: do you really want to ruin the story details about the upcoming Metal Gear Solid game that everyone is desperately willing to get their hands on? Wouldn't it be more fun on unveiling the truth behind Skullface, Quiet, and all the other characters yourself? I stopped at Chapter 1. Truthfully, I didn't read all of it, and the script could go on, haha, gotcha, for all I know. For me, rolling my eyes in light laughter from the possible fact somebody might have leaked story details from a series I massively love, I forced myself to stop at Chapter 1. Well, wait, huh? Oh, okay. Never mind, let's continue. I would also like to mention I have done no edits and have kept the entire post that was sent to myself in its true form. I haven't changed any of the story, nor do I take credit for what you will see below. I am simply passing along something that I thought may be interesting and a bit of fun. Keep in mind this is just a brief overview and thus resulted in many details that go deeper to be left out, or has been changed altogether. Here I present to you the backstory about how this person got the information. Don't know if this is genuine, but I heard from a friend who works with a certain gaming production company based in LA. He gave me the entire overview plot to the game. My friend is working on a 13-month based contract with Kojima Productions Los Angeles. He worked on games like Urban Chaos, Soldiers of Fortune, Crash Bandicoot, Time Splitters, but mostly works for Telltale Games. I became friends with him after meeting him at Comic-Con 4 years ago, and we played on the same Battlefield clan on PC ever since. I begged him for months and months to tell me about the game. He sent me a message on Facebook, which is probably one of the worst places you could do it. Sent me a message on Facebook with what I copied and pasted above. I have no reason to doubt him, but he said some story elements were changed in the last year, and that's the reason for delay. He's working with 600 other people on the online now. Spoilers! We are now going into the overview about the storyline for Metal Gear Solid: The Phantom Pain. Spoilers! Prologue. Snake infiltrates Camp Omega, a US-controlled black site prison facility in Cuba to rescue Chico and Cypher spy Paz. After rescuing them, Snake discovers a bomb in Paz, which he and a surgeon takes out from her, saving a potential explosion. Meanwhile, a group of Cypher agents led by Skullface, who have used the alias Zoth, to trick UF forces into believing they are with the government. Skullface infiltrates Mother Base by pretending to be a UN inspection team. They have used one of their inside men within Mother Base to launch a devastating attack on the base in an attempt of stealing Metal Gear Zeke. Snake returns to the base during the attack and saves his second-in-command, Kaz Miller, and they leave as the base is destroyed. Paz, however, wakes up and reveals that she has another bomb, and she exits a helicopter, or really, she, jumps. Exits the helicopter, saving Snake in the process, and after regaining control of the helicopter, they battle... Actually, those events are kind of backwards. They battle a Zoth unit chasing them before going back to Mother Base to look for survivors, but find none. Yeah, this is kind of wrong. After making the landing, Chico is reunited with his sister, the leader of Resistance Group, but they are attacked by a US mercenary unit who mortally wounds Snake. Kaz and the other survivors are taken back to Camp Omega and tortured, but Kaz escapes and rescues Snake. Kaz uses his contacts to get them to a private hospital in Jamaica where Snake falls into a coma. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. They're pretty much talking about ground zeros, and that's like complete bullshit after a while. Alright, Chapter 1, The Phantom Pain. Snake has a flashback of Operation Snake Eater and relives fighting the boss before waking up in a hospital. His body is out of shape and he is weak. He is occasionally visited by a nurse and his doctor who reveals that he has been in a coma for 9 years. Snake has lost his left hand, wrist, and has shrapnel lodged in his skull which will in the course of the next few months work his way out. Snake goes into shock and reveals he has slight memory loss. Woohoo! He's Shadow the Hedgehog! Going back to sleep, he has flashbacks of how he learned of the innocence of the boss, his decision to leave the American Philosophers. Okay. This is an organization created by his former commander Zero. No, the Philosophers were around prior to Zero. This is an organization created by his former commander Zero due to their differences in interpreting the will of the boss and how he came to be a mercenary in Central America. He also dreams about his occasional violent run-ins with a rival mercenary leader Kaz Miller. Finally, the two men come to peace and create MSF together. Snake wakes up in shock when an explosion rips through the hospital and machine gun fire followed by people screaming. Snake is introduced to a man who calls himself Ishmael, whom reveals he has watched over Snake for the past 9 years. He helps the weak Snake move through the hospital to safety. They are then attacked by several strange figures who at first seem hostile, but then are revealed to be trying to help Snake after they rescue him from a death squad of Zolf soldiers. Snake and Ishmael make it out of the hospital and try fleeing by car, but are attacked by helicopters. Snake is saved after the helicopter is taken out by a strange psychic figure. Snake also finds that Ishmael was just an illusion created by this psychic to help Snake. Snake is then snapped by Revolver Ocelot, who is shocked to learn that Snake does not remember him. Ocelot takes him away, revealing that the people trying to kill him belong to Skullface, who has started a full-blown war against Cypher for unknown reasons. Skullface wants Snake dead because he wants Cypher's icon and propaganda tool to be removed. However, they fight off these strange figures who are working for Cypher before being rescued by Diamond Dog soldiers. Snake, however, passes out after trying to fight them as he is still confused. In another flashback, Snake relives the moment he was introduced to Ocelot and remembers fighting him throughout Operation Snake Eater. Excuse me. Snake, which for some reason is now in total caps lock, so Snake is taken to an offshore plant similar to Mother Base. Ocelot reveals that when Snake was in a coma, Kaz went back to Camp Omega with the Sandinistas and rescued the remaining MSF members. They began to rebuild their outfit, this time renaming it Diamond Dogs. Ocelot lets Snake rest before his first mission. The next day, Snake is fitted with a robotic hand and wrist, which MSF took from a Russian KGB agent they killed a decade ago. Ocelot takes Snake to Afghanistan to rescue Kaz that has been captured, but kept alive over the week. Snake goes on his first ever mission since waking up and finds Kaz, whom has both a leg and an arm missing. They fly back to their new home. Kaz explains what he went through in the last 9 years. He reveals Ocelot came to him and helped financially as he owes Snake. Kaz also reveals that Skullface has a base in Afghanistan as he is trying to help the Soviets win the war, and that is why he chose Afghanistan as a place of interest. Snake is also warmly greeted by the Diamond Dog soldiers who see Snake as a living legend. Excuse me. Kaz gives Snake a series of mission objectives. The base at that moment is attacked by a rival mercenary outfit, and later after the fight, Kaz reveals that the base needs improvements, better protection, and more firepower and men. He encourages Snake to focus on both gaining them for their revenge and doing mercenary missions on the side to fund their quest. Chapter 2, Diamond Dogs. Actually, a little bit prior to that, they were talking about the arm that was taken from a KGB agent. I can't remember that dude's name, but he was the guy that basically brought on the entire events of Peace Walker, the game prior to Ground Zeroes. And if memory serves correctly, that's the wrong arm. So, yeah, I'll have to check that out again. Anyway, Chapter 2, Diamond Dogs. Before going after Before going after Cypher and Zoff for revenge, Snake goes back to Afghanistan to raise money for the new Mother Base by completing mercenary missions such as capturing Soviet and Mujahideen bases, stealing intel, equipment, personnel, doing assassination and sabotage missions, along with intelligence gathering missions for a corrupt CIA unit based there. Although, from what we were able to see from, like, E3 footage and shit like that, they mainly get their money from diamonds. So, they capture enemy armored vehicles and collect raw diamonds. Okay, well, at least that's still there. Snake also does missions for both the Soviets and for the Mujahideen in return for diamonds, money, and resources. During one mission, Snake finds the person responsible for killing all the men protecting Kaz and the same person who captured and delivered Kaz to the Russians. Her name is Quiet, and she's an expert sharpshooter. Snake rescues her from being raped and murdered after she kills a perverted Soviet commander. After Snake's effort to help Mother Base expand into a now fully fledged mercenary outfit, Kaz and Ocelot approach him and shows they have found the suspected Cypher spy, Huey Emmerich, who resides under Zoff's close guard in a Bosnian mansion. Snake captures him and brings him back to Mother Base, where he is then put through severe torture by Ocelot. Quiet was tortured also. Oh, hey, what do you know? Escapes, and Snake is given the mission of chasing after her since she has valuable information on Diamond Dogs. Snake tracks down and locates Quiet, but she quickly turns the hunter into prey and has a sniper standoff with Snake, resulting in her being wounded. As Snake is about to mercy kill her, Kaz calls him with intel on her background. She's from Ireland, and her father, an IRA supporter, was gunned down along with her brother in the Bloody Sunday incident by the British Armed Forces. She became a sniper for the IRA, but they betrayed her by attempting to hand her over to the UVF in return for some of their own men, but she killed them. She then moved to England, changed her name, and joined the British Army. The trained sniper proceeds to work her way up so she could kill the men responsible for her father and brother's death. She does so before being captured by the SAS and tortured to near death. They even go far enough to have her tongue cut off. She escaped and became a mercenary before finding herself working for the Soviets as an assassin. Snake feels sympathetic for her and offers her a place with Diamond Dogs, which she accepts. Back at Mother Base, Diamond Dogs is given a new series of mercenary missions, similar to the ones before. During one mission, in which Snake is to assassinate the leader of a rebel group known only as the Orphans, Snake discovers they are a small ragtag group of kids who had lost family due to the ongoing war. Where was it? There I am. Snake finds their leader Eli, and instead of killing him, Snake recruits him and his companions. Hi Liquid. Mother Base has now expanded even further and has more men, equipment, and contracts. After returning to Mother Base, it is attacked by a Soviet assault team in revenge for Snake not completing his mission of killing Eli. He then learns from torturing the last remaining Soviet that they aren't in fact Soviet, but Americans working for Skullface. They kidnapped Eli from Cypher and were using him as a bargaining chip, but after the boy escaped for the 10th time in 6 days, Skullface ordered the boy to be executed. Eli, however, kills the man before he can say why. Snake decides to let the boy stay on Mother Base in a hope to find out why Cypher valued the boy so much. Chapter 3: A Ghost in the Machine. Huey finally breaks and reveals he was helping Cypher. He reveals that Cypher threatened to kill his fiancée if he did not help. He also goes on to say that he was aware that Paz might not go through with her plans, so he contacted Cypher. He then leaked information to Cypher. He created the entire fake inspection plot. He then explains that the team were to come in and simply take Metal Gear Zeke and then leave, but they instead planted explosives, killed half of MSF, and kidnapped Huey before destroying MSF's Mother Base altogether. Huey cries that his actions in betraying Snake had caused him PTSD, and he is now a heavy drinker. Woohoo! The direct result of his actions has led his marriage to ruins. Snake himself then tortured Huey out of anger, but forgives him later on. I'm sorry I tortured you twice. Huey tells Snake that Skullface knows both Zero and Snake personally from the 60s and gives Snake the location of one of Skullface's bases in Afghanistan. Wait, where am I? Snake finds the outpost and infiltrates it in an attempt to capture or kill Skullface, but is detected by the base. As Snake's extraction fails, he is stranded and has to fight a group of other Cypher assassins, deformed super soldiers. Snake barely survives. He beats them, but is surrounded by Zoff soldiers. He is rescued by the Mujahideen, who takes him to their camp. Snake, without communication, helps the Mujahideen fight off a large number of Soviet forces before Diamond Dog soldiers arrive. A battle occurs in which many Diamond Dog soldiers are killed in the process. Quiet also dies during the battle after sacrificing herself to save Snake. Always the good-looking ones. After returning to the base, Snake and his men mourn their fallen comrades, and this fuels his desire for revenge even deeper. The base is then visited by Skullface and his men unexpectedly, and instead of fighting, Skullface comes to make peace. He reveals himself to be Alexander Antov, who was once an agent with Fox alongside Snake back in the early 60s. In the mid-60s, his wife and children were killed by Major Zero, who was in charge of the American philosophers, in retaliation for refusing to kill Eva. He was not! A woman from Snake's past. Skullface explains that he has been keeping his friends close, but his enemies even closer. He wishes to kill Zero, who is now in charge of Cypher, but needs help doing so. Despite the protests from Kaz, Snake agrees. Skullface hands Snake a dossier before leaving. The dossier reveals that Cypher has a base in South Africa where they are developing weapons to surpass Metal Gear, and that Zero will be there. Skullface continues to reveal that Eli was part of a secret project conducted by Cypher in which Zero used Snake's genetics to create 3 cloned baby boys, one of them being Eli. A shocked Snake then later sends Eli off to London with fake papers and enough money to survive to lead a normal life away from both he and Zero. But Eli sees this as abandonment. Snake then tells his men that their time in Afghanistan is over. And not at a single point in there did it say anything about, Snake, resenting. At least according to Liquid, during Metal Gear Solid, he was pretty much constantly being told, like, you're a piece of shit, and including from Big Boss, so where's all that in all this? Chapter 4, A Country Without Borders. The war tore the South African country of Zimbabwe apart. They have no government and aren't even recognized within the UN. It is made up of a desert, a mountainous region, dense jungle, and a swampland with hundreds of small villages scattered all over it. Snake is told by Kaz that the country is gripped in a civil war between the Christian South and the Muslim North. Snake arrives and is given the mission of infiltrating a rebel there. After doing so, he finds that the rebels are being equipped and paid by Cypher. Snake finds civilian prisoners whom he releases, one of them begging Snake to save their children, who are kept prisoners and forced to become boy soldiers. Snake agrees and goes there to find small boys being trained how to fight. Snake rescues them and takes them back to Mother Base. Kaz disagrees with using boy soldiers, but Snake persuades him. Snake also becomes a friend for one of the small boys named Vosolu. Snake is given a series of mercenary missions to complete. After completing a mission, Snake is suddenly attacked by a demon-like fiery figure that was seen at the hospital. Snake kills the figure before heading back to Mother Base, which he expands even further. And there's not a single thing stated about said fiery figure. Alright. Chapter 5, Blood Diamond. Snake gets intel that Cypher has a large facility with compounds and decides to head toward it in order to kill Zero once and for all. Snake comes across a village on his way to the facility and finds all the rebels dead. He finds 2 lone survivors, a teenage boy named Frank Yeager and his sister Naomi. Snake saves their lives. Frank puts up a fight, but Snake wins and subdues him. He tells Frank that he can give him a real cause to fight for and sends them both back to Mother Base. Snake reaches and infiltrates the Cypher facility where he fights the strange psychic and beats him. The psychic reads Snake's future before departing from the facility, but tells Snake they will meet again in another life. Snake finds Zero and is about to kill him. However, he gets captured, resulting in torture. Zero reveals to Snake that they have developed nanotechnology, and what he has in store for the world is a future the boss would be proud of. Snake frees himself and causes a self-destruct on the facility. Snake escapes it before it explodes. It is unknown if Zero survives or not. Well, actually, it's very well known that Zero survives. Snake makes it to a village and discovers that Cypher is sending the entire force to get him. Snake calls in for all of his men to arrive, which they do, and they all prepare for battle. This includes the child soldiers. The battle rages after Cypher and the rebels attack. Snake and his men are heavily outnumbered and surrounded. Snake calls for air support. Napalm and cluster bombs are dropped on their location, killing almost everyone. Snake then begins to execute the wounded Cypher and rebel soldiers one by one before mercy killing a wounded Vosulu. Kaz and the others arrive to witness the aftermath and the bodies of Snake mutilated. Back at Mother Base, Snake and his men cremate and hold a ceremony for the dead. Snake then goes to extreme measures and orders his men to take the whole country by force, keeping his people on a tight leash. Snake even has some of his own men punished by death for refusing to kill civilians. Many abandon Diamond Dogs, and even Kaz starts to question the cause and even the war that they are fighting. Snake goes on a series of missions in which he and his forces go from village to jungles to even bases, wiping out everyone on sight, including civilians. Ocelot leaves Diamond Dogs, stating that his mother would hate what Snake has become. The next morning, Snake wakes up to discover that half of the men of Diamond Dogs have gone up and left without warning. Snake orders Kaz to gather up as many men as possible for an assault on the country's capital city where the ruling royal family live. Snake and his men, including Kaz, attack the city. Snake orders the deaths of the royal family and the civilian population who are rioting at them. Snake kills several of his own men who refuse to fire at the civilians, much to the shock and horror of Kaz. Back at Mother Base, Kaz questions Snake, and Snake reveals that Cypher is planning on taking over the world, not by force, but within, via the brain through technology, and he wishes to put an end to it. When asked how Snake will accomplish this, Snake suggests that they acquire nuclear weapons and simply reduce the Earth's population. This will result in the destruction of every capital city and the most powerful countries. Kaz, now sickened by what Snake has become, secretly plans to take over with the Diamond Dog soldiers, who all agree. Snake is attacked by his own men who try to subdue him, but Snake kills them and launches a one-man assault on his own base, killing his own men. Kaz and the others try to fight back, but Skullface and his unit arrive. Skullface launches the same type of devastation on Mother Base as they did a decade earlier, but only this time is helped by Snake himself. Kaz escapes along with the traumatized Huey. Skullface accepts Snake for who he is and even agrees with Snake's plan on saving the world from Cypher. Chapter 6. Outer Heaven. Snake is taken to an abandoned missile site where Skullface has molded this to his own personal Mother Base. There, Snake is introduced to a Metal Gear, which his men have built based on Zeke. Both Skullface and Snake form an alliance. They decide to take over the country for themselves and use it as an FOB in their war against Cypher. Snake now has a series of missions to complete in order to impress and win over Skullface. Snake is accepted as one of them. Snake realizes he will always be a target of Cypher, whom will stop at nothing. Snake comes up with a plan. He kills Skullface and takes over as commander, or General Saladin, as his new army call him. Snake then orders his men to build a wall around the small country, expanding the base, and started development on nuclear weapons. He then arranges to meet with Zero. Snake meets with an aged and weak Zero, whom is with Ocelot, and gives Zero Skullface's head as a gift. He begs Zero to forgive him and give him another chance. Zero is quick to accept and allows Snake to have his own special forces unit that Snake named Foxhound. Zero also introduces his adopted son, David Pliskin, to Snake. Zero then reveals to Snake in private that David is actually his, and will even allow Snake to be there for him, but only as a mentor. Snake agrees. Zero has no idea that the General Saladin, who is now the leader of the mercenary state, Outer Heaven, is Snake. Snake arrives at the Foxhound base facility in Colorado in dress uniform. He meets Major Roy Campbell, who becomes the unit's second in command. Snake is later visited by Ocelot, who asks what Snake is trying to accomplish. Snake simply smiles and replies with, "Keep your friends close, but your enemies even closer." Arriving at the base are the first ever batch of recruits. Among them is Frank Yeager. Game ends with the sentence, "To be continued in Metal Gear Solid Outer Heaven." Just that the next game will not only be a follow-up, but will actually be a full retelling remake of Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2. Who knows what the future has in stock for Metal Gear? What more can they do? However, being a long-term fan of the series, I can only hope it goes out with the bang it deserves, and not sheer disappointment that has plagued so many endings in recent times. So, that is the entire little story thingamajiggy, along with the creator's own little commentary posted at the very end. I saw just enough stuff in there that, like, contradicts quite a bit. And the simple fact that it says to be continued in Metal Gear Solid Outer Heaven, that alone just kind of makes me go, no. I mean, yeah, we do know that there's at least plans for a Metal Gear 1 and 2 remake, but there's already a, I think it's an Android game, actually. It's a fan-made one, but there's a fan-made Android game called Metal Gear Solid Outer Heaven, so, or at least Metal Gear Outer Heaven, one of those, I don't know, but it wouldn't make sense. And I think there's even another Metal Gear remake that's being put out there. It's pretty much being called the same thing. So to hear that there would also be an official, you know, like Fox Engine Metal Gear Solid Outer Heaven, it's just no. At the very least, they're probably going to change that name, because it's just a little too fanny. But either way, that was the plot synopsis as given by the supposed leak. I can certainly see some things being true, but a lot of what I was seeing in there, it either contradicts prior events. Like, we already know that Portable Ops is considered canon, and because of that, we already know who Frank Yeager is. Snake's already met Frank Yeager, has re-met him as Null, and we just need to re-meet him for a third time, but they're stating that like it's the very first time, and I really don't think that Naomi Hunter, wasn't that in Mozambique or something? I don't remember, but from what I recall, I'm pretty sure that Frank Yeager was already a part of, like, Foxhound, or maybe not Foxhound, but at least had something to do with Big Boss by the time he met Naomi Hunter. But there was certainly never anything stated about, like, going on to a base, and nothing was even stated on there about her being sent away from that. From what we can tell, it basically sounds like she got killed during the Mother Base shit, and well, that's clearly false, unless Kojima wants to completely annihilate everything that was done with the Metal Gear Solid series and just redo it. It would be a good way, because then we wouldn't have Fox die. But yeah, a lot of this stuff really does seem like it's just fan interpretations of the plot, and like God, what's that dude's name? Young, yeah, he does a lot of Metal Gear stuff. I remember he theorized, or at least brought up from other fans theorizing, that Quiet could very well have that name simply because she had her tongue cut out, and we got that posted up on here. Just too much of it just seems like something that the fans themselves came up with, as opposed to what you really come to expect from Hideo Kojima. Well, wow, I completely butchered his name, but whatever. So personally, I don't think this is real. But you never know. Maybe it is, and it really takes actually seeing the story progression and having more of the greater details than what you just see here. But either way, let me know what you all think. Anywho, I am your Lord and Savior Nero, and if you enjoyed this video, then please, by all means, leave a like, comment, favorite, and of course subscribe. I'm always looking for more, and definitely look forward to more content, be it more things along this means, dramatic readings, let's plays, rant videos, etc. Anywho, I shall see you when I feel like it.